Richard Petty has just nudged car number 43 back in front of Cale Yarborough in the second position here as they've swapped it back and forth still another time. It's Petty back into the first slot. In that second position, number 27, Cale Yarborough. 7 cars running the lead pack. Actually, there are 8, but one of them, number 50, Bodine, is a lap down. Back through the tri-oval they sweep. Down they come to the start-finish line. With third spot, Allison. Fourth spot, Baker. Fifth, Labonte. And back to 6 goes Waltrip. Very enthusiastic congregation gathered here in Old Alabama today, and they're getting one whale of an automobile race. Petty out of turn number 2 with the advantage and gets a breather. Big one, almost a whole car length.
Oh, well, home and dried it. No sweat at all.
Now there's car number 2, who is running in the 8th position, Tim Richmond, and number 9, Bill Elliott, is running in 9th. 02 is a lap down. Mark Markey's fallen a lap down. Number 2, Richmond, is in 8th as he tries to gather back up on those leaders.
It's very important for this group here, who are trailing a little bit behind the lead group, to try and pick up with their own draft and try and get back with this lead group. Otherwise, of course, they're going to be right out to lunch. And in fact, they are catching them up.
In 10th is Morgan Shepherd. Running 11th is Joe Ruttman. In 12th is Marcus. And running in the 13th position right now, it's Gary Nelson from the Dygard team you're seeing there. 13th in this race is Jimmy Means, independent out of Huntsville, Alabama, originally. Now in 13th. 14th is Bonnet, and 15th is Jody Ridley. Back with the leaders, and there's Terry Labonte coming around the outside. You ask Cale Yarborough about his strategy in this race. Why there have been no repeat winners.
It's one thing that's made it so tough to be a repeat winner here, that it's just so hard to run a race car flat out all day long for 500 miles at speeds over 200 miles an hour and still be around at the end.
But right now, we've only had 13 retirees from this race that started 40 automobiles.
Yeah, it started off badly, that we had a lot of retirees very early on, but I'm amazed that this lead group of upwards of 12 cars has managed to maintain such an incredibly high speed whilst they're running. I suppose the yellow flags is really what saved this race, the caution period.
152 laps complete when they come by this time, 36 laps to go, and they're into the last 100 miles. 404 miles have been completed, and it now looks like at least 7, perhaps 10 cars will be in the lead pack to decide the Talladega 500. Next Saturday and Sunday, you boxing fans have a great weekend in store here on CBS. CBS Sports Saturday at 4:30 Eastern. Next Saturday brings you a 10-round bout between 2 undefeated heavyweights. It's Tony Tubbs, former national AAU champion, taking on Clarence Hill. And Sunday, CBS Sports Sunday has 2 more gladiators from that talent-rich lightweight division. The former WBA champ, that's Hilmer Kente, looking for a comeback. And John Montes will be his opponent. They'll have it out on Sunday, 4:30 Eastern. And look at that crowd and the enthusiasm here as you're watching live the final moments of the Talladega 500. Neil Bonnet pitting car number 21, the 1980 champion of this event. The Warner Hodgson car coming down to the pit road. Meanwhile, the leaders pressing down the back straightaway. Richard Petty. Will he win for the first time in 1982, and will he become the first driver in history to ever win the Talladega 500 twice? No one has done it in 13 previous races. And Yarborough has yet to do it the first time.
I tell you what, if this group hangs together like this, the last lap could be pretty exciting, to say the least.
Average speed, laps 140 to lap 150. The average speed among those 7 in the front pack, 196.229 miles per hour.
And Neil Bonnet goes down a lap to the lead group as he leaves the pits. You'll see him down the inside there. The lead group flashes by, and that puts Neil Bonnet 1 lap down, and he was hanging right in there for a long time with that Ford.
Again, the kitty in this deck is number 44, Terry Labonte, as he was a year ago. He made that great move right at the finish to go around Waltrip on the outside, coming to the line. Bouchard go to the inside, and the 3 came across side by side. Here's number 44, Labonte, right back there in 3rd place, still looking for that first win. Grand National Racing. Cale Yarborough, on the other hand, boy, he has a tremendous record, but he hasn't in this race. He's never won it. Second a couple of times, but Cale Yarborough wants to win this race. He wants it bad. He's He's had 2 Grand National victories thus far in 1982. Here's Cale Yarborough pulling up. Look at the average speed variation after these caution periods. Just continues to ascend.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good run the last few laps, and of course, as you've just pointed out, 196 mile an hour average over a 10-lap stretch. That is really pouring on the coals, and that of course brings you back to what Cale was saying. Why there's been so many different winners in this race. It's so hot here in August as compared to May, and you just can't run these cars at upwards of 196 miles an hour for 500 miles and expect them all to finish.
Again, the temperature nearly 90 out here. Inside the cars, over 120 degrees. Cale Yarborough seeking his 74th win today. Richard Petty, his 196. Terry Labonte, his first. Back to the tri-oval. And car number 71 is now going down a lap. Dave Marcus. Marcus, who won this race in 1976. He's beginning to fall back a bit.
The lead group, Richard Petty there, is about to catch up with a group going down the back straight. There's someone that doesn't like the noise too much.
But having a good time.
Having a good time, yeah.
157 laps now complete. 417 miles are down. Who's it going to be? Will Richard Petty come out of this losing scheme? Will he put it together today? Will Cale Yarborough come home and win it for the first time? Will Terry Labonte win his first Grand National race and be the new dark horse? Or will Bobby Allison just smooth it out of 4th position where he is now and take it home? And there's Waltrip running back in 5th, also waiting for those final laps. Car number 3. Look at this move. On the outside, Richard Petty is down low. Is he going to get ready to pit here? They all have one more stop to make. Petty is going to come in. That's exactly what the situation is going to be. The leaders are all coming onto pit road as we rejoin you in lap 160. Petty is on pit road. There are now 28 laps to go. Here's Ned Jarrett.
Richard Petty taking on gasoline and right side tires. This should be his last pit stop. He can go the rest of the way from here. And now let's go down to Larry Nuber with Cale Yarborough.
Cale Yarborough has not changed any rubber on any one of the tires. They simply put new fuel in the race car. Cale drag strips out of the pit area, followed up by Richard Petty and by Mark Martin. So Cale Yarborough beats Richard Petty out of the pit area. Terry Labonte and his crew with Jake Elder heading it up. They've had quite a discussion as to what they should do when they come in. They're not exactly certain whether or not they should change tires. Ken Squire.
Bobby Allison pitting car number 88, and you watch Richard Petty just drag strip away from Cale Yarborough.
Yeah, Richard Petty made a fantastic start out of pit lane there, or Cale Yarborough made a pretty bad one. And of course, in fact, Richard Petty put fuel and changed the right side tires, which will help him a lot. And Cale Yarborough took about the same length of time in the pits and didn't change the tires, and that may have a dire effect on him about 10 laps down the road from now.
Terry Labonte now appropriates that first spot. He inherits it. The car number 3, which has been running right up with the leaders all day, stays right with him. That is Ricky Rudd in the Richard Childress automobile. Joe Ruttman is back in the hunt again. Morgan Shepherd has pitted, and he has come back out. We're still showing at this point, I believe, 12 cars in the lead lap. We'll check that back for you in just a moment. Let's go to Larry Nuber in the pits.
Terry Labonte comes to a stop here in his assigned pit area. Here's the young man who has finished second 6 times. There was a tremendous discussion with about 4 or 5 crew members the 2 laps before Terry came in. They would have liked to have changed tires, and I think what determined whether or not they changed tires was what the other top teams did. And when Yarborough came in and did not change tires, they chose to not do so also.
162 laps, 430 miles are down. There are 26 laps to go. Terry Labonte is back on the track. Darrell Waltrip has been in. He is back out again. All the leaders, by our lights, have made their pit stop, David, and so now it's down to it. Together up this field, there's number 3, Terry Labonte, or rather number 3, Ricky Rudd in the Childress car. Richard Petty's number 43 is unofficially in front.
I think Richard Petty really made an astounding pit stop there, because he passed Bobby Allison as he came out of the pits, and he had so much way on that I think he'll pull out a long way on Bobby after his pit stop, and the same applied to Darrell Waltrip.
When you can just motor line him coming off
Yeah.
pit road against Cale.
Right.
He just
Well,
made the
coming
maneuver.
out, and then of course Bobby stopped the lap after that and put himself on the same lap as Richard. But Richard was so far in front of him as he pulled out the pits that I think he's going to have a job to pull that back.
Joe Ruttman is pitted unofficially. Elliott is being shown as the leader, Bill Elliott, but he has yet to pit, so that is not among the people that are really hunting for this checkered flag, although Elliott could be a factor. Here's Ned Jarrett.
Ken, one interesting point during these pit stops, Richard Petty changed right side tires. A couple of the drivers didn't change any tires, but Junior Johnson on Darrell Waltrip's car changed the left side tires. Of course, all of them filled up with gasoline. That might be an interesting piece of strategy there. Maybe they know something that the others don't, because it's been quite a while since they've changed those left side tires. That could give him some kind of a little advantage, so you can watch him in the draft and see how it works for him.
Number 28 continues to move up. Stays right in this thing. Baker just won't give up. He's fallen back a few times, and I think with intent. He stood in the back of the draft, felt very confident, and now you see him pull right up behind Richard Petty another time. And I unofficially would tell you that that would be the battle for first and second. Checking on two other cars that should have pitted as they all came in under green. Now there's Baker pressing down to the inside. Battle for first place. Baker has it. Baker into first, Petty falling to second. Cale stays right there in third. Labonte is in fourth. What a finish you're in for live today here on CBS.
And Tim Richmond is right there too in fifth spot. This would be a great win for him. And about 4 or 5 seconds behind are Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison, who are going to have to drag themselves up. They're going to have to really use their own draft and drag themselves back to that leading bunch. They're about 5 seconds down, and they've only got another 23 laps.
About a 5-second interval between the front 5 automobiles back to that collection that has Darrell Waltrip, who really was running and dominating this race for so long. 20 laps to go, just 53 miles. They're averaging over 194 miles per hour. 5 cars in the lead pack. Buddy Baker, number 28, is your leader. But now, to the inside, Richard Petty makes his move. Petty goes back out in front another time. Cale Yarborough is third. Terry Labonte is in fourth. Richmond is in fifth. The front 5 running nose to tail out of turn number 4 and back to the tri-oval. And there's a good battle in 6 developing as they try to overhaul these front 5.
Just about 2 seconds behind, in fact a little bit under 2 seconds behind. There you see Darrell Waltrip, Bobby Allison,
Bill Elliott.
and Bill Elliott. Bill Elliott's had a good race. He's hung on well here. He qualified well, and he's hung on extremely well.
That's a Ford, and Bill Elliott has proven to be just a grand driver this year. He really has proven he deserves to be among the superstars of Grand National Racing.
His brother's a crew chief. It's a real family affair, and they've got a good car there.
Hold the phone down the inside. Here comes Waltrip. He's under Labonte. Darrell Waltrip is on the charge. Hard to find a competitor who can measure this Waltrip by. He reminds me somewhat of Yarborough. I mean, he just is tenacious. Here he is moving again, trying to slide through off automobiles down to the inside. It looked like the Warner Hodgson car running slowly. Richard Petty out in front. What's the best situation to be in on the last lap, Richard Petty? Where do you want to be?
It's just a combination of being in the right place at the right time and making the right deal. You don't outfigure 4 or 5 people. You can outfigure 1 man, but you can't outfigure 3 or 4 because each one of those react. Once 1 man acts, then everybody reacts. So your reaction has got to be right, or your first act has got to be right.
Reaction right now has put Buddy Baker back into the front position. Here comes Waltrip into second, Petty into third, Cale Yarborough in fourth. What a dramatic finish we are building for. 2 things. One, our CBS onboard camera in Cale Yarborough's car is having some problems. We know how much you like those pictures from inside, and we feel they're so important to you, but there has been some technical difficulties today from that camera. And 2, you notice how sometimes it looks a little strange, awesome down that back straightaway. That humidity that moisture just seems to hang in the air and give us some strange pictures, particularly in turns 3 and 4. Now, Darrell Waltrip in car number 11 presses and gets up on the inside, goes back to first place. Petty falls to second. Here's a report from Larry Newberg.
Well, the only driver among the leaders to change the left side or inside rubber was Darrell Waltrip, and the answer was very simple from this man, Junior Johnson. The wear was just too great to take a chance. They lost a little bit of time in changing those tires, but as you can see, they're more than making up for it on the racetrack. Also an update as we watch the Junior Johnson pit crew as they watch their driver, an update on the Terry Labonte situation. By our observation, they held back a little fuel. They did not put 2 cans of fuel in that race car. They're running with what we believe to be just enough to get to the finish. That means that car is a little lighter than the others, and they're hoping maybe just a little quicker in the last couple of laps.
173 laps complete when they come by this time. Just 15 laps remaining. 7, 8 cars perhaps to decide it all today. Here in the 14th running of the $376,000 Talladega 500. Into turn number 1. Waltrip on the point. Richard Petty in second. 196 miles per hour. We'll be back with the exciting finish shortly. We'll return with more live coverage of the Talladega 500 after this word from your local station. 175 laps complete, 13 to go. Show and tell time. If you have it, flaunt it. Here's number 11, Waltrip out in front, Petty in second place. It's muscle time here at Talladega.
Well, muscle time is lap 188. It's the real muscle time, but I haven't seen a weak member. We keep on saying, well, he could certainly win it, and Terry Labonte is strong. And when it all boils down to it, there's a whole bunch of the leading 6 and 7 cars here are all extremely strong and competitive cars. Somebody coming in the pits up there.
Baker is third. Labonte is fourth. There is an interval of 10 car lengths to the 5th place man, Bobby Allison, then 8 car lengths to the 6th place man, Tim Richmond. In 7th, Cale Yarborough, who is now moving underneath Tim Richmond to go to 6. There's the battle. That's for 6. And Richmond fends off Cale Yarborough. Remember, the man with the fresh tires.
There is, of course, a slight incentive. Tim Richmond has more of an incentive than most of the rest of these guys out there, because there's a special prize of $20,000 to the guy who can make it 14 winners. So somebody wants to be a new winner. Cale Yarborough, of course, is going for the same position.
Pick up that 20. Waltrip stays in front. Petty waiting, as we have seen him do so many times. This is that know when to hold him, know when to fold him time. There's Stevie Waltrip, Darrell's wife, scoring that automobile lap after lap, sitting down there in the heat on pit road. 10 laps to go this time by. 10 to go. Allison makes his move. Bobby Allison down to the inside, and he begins to turn the wick up on the Dygaard racing car. Here's Allison clambering along that 33-degree bank. Low side, high side is Baker. Make no mistake about it. That car has run hard and strong all afternoon, but he loses a bit of draft and he falls back a car length. He falls back in behind Baker. Will he tuck in? He does. Labonte finds himself in 5th.
He got just slightly aced out by that lapped car they were going through there.
9 to go. 9 laps remaining now. Down toward this finish. Will Waltrip be the first man in history to win it twice? The front 4 have all won it before. It looks like the 13 races, 13 faces become just part of racing history today. Baker to the inside.
I don't know. Terry Labonte's right there. He could be 14 faces. He's running very strongly just behind these leading 4 cars. There he is.
What a magnificent shootout we're building for. 21 Neil Bonnet running off the pace. Here's Alaquesto from Pennsylvania being lapped again and again. Terry Labonte there. 5 cars in that lead bundle. Who would you pick, Hobbs?
Oh, Alaquesto. I want to go for a real outsider on this.
179 laps complete. Stevie Waltrip watching that lead car.
enigmatic smile on her face, a Mona Lisa type smile. Perhaps she knows something that we don't know.
Back into turn number 3. Baker there. Buddy Baker in the second spot. Richard Petty falls back about 4 car lengths. Lets that car breathe a little.
If you go on laps led today, of course, you'd have to put your money on Darrell. There's no doubt about it. He has looked extremely strong all day. But it isn't going to be as simple as that. As Richard Petty just said in that little interview, when he comes down to that last lap, and there's so many cars together, it doesn't matter what you do, and somebody else fouls it up for you, you've up headed.
180 laps complete, and 8 to go. Bobby Allison goes to the inside. Petty comes back on the outside again. Terry Labonte is there, and so is Cale Yarborough. 6 automobiles all gathered up. Who will it be? We'll know in just a matter of minutes. About 5. Terry Labonte going very high, using up a lot of racetrack, and he has run well there all afternoon throughout the entire going. He has liked the high side and run very, very well, way up on top.
He certainly does seem to like it up close to the wall there, and as you say, he's run very well there. He's passed a lot of cars on the outside. Bobby Allison, on the other hand, has been running extremely well low down on the racetrack. I don't know which, of course, it depends which is going to be the one that matters on this last lap, because someone's going to have to go real, the way it looks at the moment, someone's going to be really high and someone's going to be really low.
Darrell Waltrip seeking his 46th Grand National win. 10th on the all-time list. At lap 180, the speed was up to 167 mile an hour average. Get some lap times for you here in these final moments. Looks like they're holding it just about 195 mile per hour average. 9 cars in the lead lap. Ricky Rudd is back in the 9th position. 8th is the Morgan Shepherd car. Bill Elliott is running 7th. Tim Richmond is in 6th. And the front 5 are all running for 1st.
Tim Richmond does seem to have lost that drive. Oh no, there he is, right back in that leading group again. Right at the back.
Allison to the inside. Baker in the 2nd spot. There you see him. Buddy Baker currently in 2nd. Allison is on the attack. And the partisan Alabama crowd back on their feet another time. The laps run down. There's $376,000 at stake. $20,000 bonus if you can win it, and you've never won it before. Labonte sits there in 3rd as he weaves his way up through and moves in on those leaders. Waltrip stays in front. The master strategist of Grand National Racing. So simple, so direct. There's the 3rd place man, Terry Labonte, out of Texas. His mother is over in the scoring stand, scoring for him. Wife told me at breakfast this morning, she said, that gets just a little too nervous for me.
I guess so. There's Richard Petty going low. He's run low all day too, and which is not unlike him. He used to be so good at running high. And
Allison, fuel problem, I would say. You can discount Allison from taking a charge to this checkered flag.
Discount him right out.
That is too bad. Last lap, 195.4 miles per hour. What a bad break for Allison. Made a good charge for it, realized he had a problem and came in.
Well, he had a break last week, I suppose, a good break last week, and that's the way it goes. Racing, unfortunately, is a real up and down affair, and you just can't have it always all the time.
Back they come to the line another time. And there will be 4 laps to go on this 2.6 mile track.
Now the strategy is really getting serious for those 2 or 3 guys at the back. Richard Petty has really got to start thinking of what he's going to do now. He's lying in 5th spot. He's got 4 laps to go. If he can make the car a lap, he can do it, but it's going to be difficult to do it if he leaves it much longer.
6 automobiles all running to win the 14th annual Talladega 500. Darrell Waltrip is in front. 2nd is Buddy Baker. Terry Labonte in 3rd. Cale Yarborough going to 4th. Waltrip, who's had a great season thus far, 6 wins to his credit for the Junior Johnson crew. He's up in front. Wife watching another time. Putting him back on the scoreboard on her chart for another lap.
The smile gone now, and a look of a frown of concentration and worry on Stevie Waltrip's face there.
Less than 3 to go. Can Waltrip sustain from the point? In 11 of the 13 previous races, the man who led on the white flag led on the checkered flag. Buddy Baker that second spot. Laps going down. Labonte in third. Yarborough fourth. Tight running order. Here they are. One more time through turn 3 and 4. Petty begins to move on the inside. 2 more times through that turn. Here's Waltrip. Remember last year right here, Labonte went to the outside, Bouchard went to the inside, and at the finish line, Waltrip found himself second, Labonte found himself third. They had to look at the pictures to believe how it finished. There are now 2 laps to go. White flag is 1 away. Waltrip is in front. Can he stay there? A year ago, this is right where he was. There's some enthusiasm for Darrell Waltrip. Cap of his sponsor there. We would like to thank.
Unfortunately, it's going to take more than cross fingers, but boy, I bet there's a lot of nail biting going on down there.
The Jim Stacy crew today and the Valvoline crew for the use of their automobiles in this race. There's a lot of cooperation. We've had some technical problems, but we certainly appreciate the effort their teams have made for us here at this Talladega 500. White flag coming out. This is it. Coming down out of turn number 4. The white flag is extended. Waltrip is in front. Baker is in second. And here comes Cale Yarborough on the outside. Yarborough beginning to roll. Remember those great Talladega finishes time after time. Remember the very first race, 1969. It was about 3 feet that decided it. They switch and slide, moving for spots. Terry Labonte stays right in the middle. Yarborough almost touches him. They're 4 deep and pulling away as they get side by side. 2 automobiles. Baker and Waltrip get a little bit of breathing room. Petty goes into third spot. Here they come. Last time through 3 and 4. Baker in that second spot. Waltrip in the lead. Can he stay there? Down they come. Crowd is up. 92,000 strong. Charging toward the finish line. Waltrip is there. Here comes Baker's move. They're 600 feet away from the line. Baker goes to the inside. Waltrip has won it. Darrell Waltrip has pulled it off. He becomes the first man in history to win the Talladega 500 twice. Magnificent strategy. He stuck it out there. He refused to give any ground. Baker gave him his best shot, but it was Darrell Waltrip's day.
Well, Darrell Waltrip led so many races, so many laps of this race, it looked pretty inevitable from one stage on. I think Richard Petty could have won that race, but he left his charge 1 lap too late. He was really making ground on Waltrip and on Baker as they came up to the line, but he left it too late.
Junior Johnson getting a big hug from Stevie Waltrip. They pulled it off. First driver in the history of the Talladega 500 to taste the champagne of Victory Lane twice. Waltrip, originally out of Owensboro, Kentucky. The short tracks are there, Nashville, Tennessee. He's done it again. 19s, actually, he helped Donnie Allison win it in 77. Let's go quickly down to Larry Newberg.
Junior, leading is not the place to be on the white flag lap. What did you guys know that nobody else has discovered here in the past?
Well, our cars performed really good here this whole week. And we felt like we had to fire to hold the lead coming off the 4th turn because we had been extra strong all through the race. And we tested some of the other guys that was potential winners, we thought, and Darrell thought he could handle them.
So you guys made that decision with about 20 laps to go just to stay there?
Well, I think we'd made it prior to that because we went back and tested the water a little bit about midway through the race, and we pretty well decided then it, lead till we could lead half of the race so we'd get to extra points, and then, go at it at the end of the race.
Junior, I don't know what you guys do to those race cars, but not only are they fast, but they seem to run 5, 6, probably even 700 miles. Is there really a secret that you guys have, or is it just a lot of attention to detail?
Well, I think we got a very strong engine, parts and pieces wise, and we got a good bunch of guys working on engines, and also the chassis and, all parts of the car. We just have an extremely good team, and Darrell does a good job, and it makes a great team.
Well, Junior, Stevie Waltrip, Darrell's wife, is also right here. Stevie, did you think he had it when he crossed the line for the white flag?
Well, you never know. Last week we ran out of gas on the last lap, so I kind of hold my breath the last 10 laps, really. I'm thrilled to death.
Well, Stevie, right now, Ned Jarrett is in victory lane with husband Darrell. We'll let you get down to him. Ned?
Well, Darrell has pulled the car number 11 into victory lane here. They're unbuckling his safety paraphernalia. A very happy crew, needless to say, as usually is the case when one of their drivers wins one of these 500 NASCAR races. We'll get to Wolf in just a moment. As soon as he gets his helmet off, he can't even hear what we're saying right at the moment, as the crew is having a little bit of trouble getting that safety helmet off. Now they're able to get it loose for him, and you can see the pain on his face as he pulls that helmet off. It's not really a very pleasant situation to have carried that thing for about 4 hours there in very high humidity here this afternoon, and certainly the heat was kept down to some degree by the cloudiness here today, but still, when you sit in here with that temperature 120, 125 degrees and work as hard as they've worked here all afternoon, it's very tiring and very hot for the driver. Well, Darrell, congratulations. You did pull it off. You're the first to win 2 Talladega 500s.
Did we run?
That's what they say.
Mountain Dew Buick. Joe Block. She run good all day, boy. I'm just tickled to death.
We asked Junior Johnson there a moment ago about that keeping the lead after you took the white flag, and you've won from coming from behind. You've also won before here by staying in the lead.
Well, educated guess. Not really knowing for sure, but this darn car runs so good all day. This Buick, this Valvoline Mountain Dew Buick, runs so good all day long that I just knew out front was where to be, and the good Lord told me to get out there and stay, boy, and that's what I did.
Darrell, we made a point of the fact that you changed left side tires on that last pit stop. A lot of them didn't change any. That seemed to really give you some advantage.
I think it helped me in the turns. I noticed, I come out a little bit behind, but wasn't any problem about catching up. I hadn't run the car wide open all day until I had to run wide open to catch up. The thing just runs so good. Ned, you know what it's like to have a car that runs good, and I never drove anything like it. It just absolutely amazed me, and I've driven a lot of good race cars.
Well, he certainly has. He's been in victory lane a lot of times, and you can see the happiness on his face here, being in victory lane right now. You can do it.
On everybody, back in Franklin, Flossie and Julie, and everybody, Robert G., the whole crowd. I really am happy for my crew. They did a super job today getting me in and out of the pit all day. They're the best.
Well, anytime you get in victory lane, they certainly have done a super job. There was nothing spectacular that happened out on the racetrack, really. It was just good, hard racing.
Well, when I get back, I didn't like it. It was really, nothing was going on, really, but there were so many cars that could run so good. And they'd be a passing and a racing each other, and really I just was wanting to be out front all day, and I'm glad the car run good enough for me to be. I said going into the race that I liked riding in the front because you don't have to see all that mating and a banging going on back behind you.
Well, here's Stevie. She just caught up with. We had her on national television here just a moment ago, so she's had her part already, but now she gets the good part.
Junior.
And Junior Johnson, of course, moving in here too. It's always a happy time in victory lane, and when this big happy family gets in here, that just makes it all more so.
Good. Oh, Mountain Dew.
Well, that's the scene here in victory lane. Now let's go back up to Kings Park.
Thank you.
The 46 win is the first one by any driver for the second time at the Talladega 500. Waltrip pulls it off. Larry Nuber is standing by with a man who almost won it.
Well, Buddy, I would guess that most of the people here thought that you were in the right place on the next to the last lap. Did you feel that way?
Well, I felt I was in a good spot, but the 3 cars in behind us, we had to break the draft on them first before we could decide anything. And
You were successful in doing that. You did pull away.
We broke the draft on the back 3 cars. That kept it from being 5 deep in the last corner. In other words, I made a guarantee of second place, no matter what. And then when we come down the front stretch, I made my move, the car was coming right, everything was working perfect. But when I cut under him to pass him, the car broke loose and the left rear wheel spun and got it sideways, and I never could get the power back before I got to the line. He beat me about, 4 foot?
Well, from our angle, of course, we couldn't see exactly what the difference was, but it just goes to show you, I guess, that no matter how many miles you log on these super speedways and these cars, you really are right on the edge, aren't you?
That's it. Well, I won 3 from first on the last lap, so I shouldn't complain. I should have remembered the times that I won. I beat Petty and Pearson, and all of it was right in the last foot or two, and he got the break there. The 3rd and 4th and 5th car dictated me not passing him on the backstretch over there, because if I had, he'd come right back by anyhow. He was really strong.
Well, Buddy, you have led more laps here and led more different times here at Talladega. You seem to employ a little different strategy today. You were just lying in wait in the top 5.
Well, that's Waddell wouldn't let me go. Every time I start to go to the lead, he'd say ride. And, we finished the race. It's a very tough thing to run 500 miles here as well as we did. And to lose it a couple of feet, we know we gave our best, and I'm not disappointed at all.
Well, Ken, even though it wasn't a victory, it was still his best finish of the 1982 season, the second place.
He's going to be strong for the rest of the year. Let's take a look again at the finish, David Hobbs, of this dramatic 14th Talladega 500.
There, Buddy makes his slingshot as they come out of turn 4 and up that short chute to the start-finish line, but he just hasn't quite got the muscle to do it. Richard Petty was back there in third place. He had managed to shake off Cale Yarborough and Terry Labonte, but he left it a lap too late, and I still think that if he had just tried that a lap earlier, he could have been right there in winner's circle.
Finishing in the 4th position, Cale Yarborough. In 5th was Terry Labonte. Into the 6th position was car number 9, Bill Elliott, and we'll be back with more from Talladega in a moment. A man who has won $4,600,000 in Grand National Racing seems to be rejuvenated right now, and he's standing by with Larry Newberg.
Ken, I think that's the right word, rejuvenated. A second place last week, a third here. I know it's not a victory, but it looks like things are coming back, aren't they, Richard?
Well, I don't know. I hope so. Circumstances got us last week. Basically, circumstances got us this week. I think Darrell had probably the quickest car, but, the circumstances, we'd have been in the right place. I wanted to be the 3rd or 4th there at last, and a couple of them jumped up there that I didn't want up there, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do. And the time I wiggled my way back to, almost to where I wanted to, the race was over. So, if Buddy could have pulled out, if he could have run a little bit quicker, if he could have pulled out on Darrell, then I was in a perfect place because I'd have got the draft of both cars and I'd been back far enough to really use it. But Buddy just wasn't strong enough to even pull out, so that just left me running around there by myself.
We also noticed that late in the race you did drop down low to that low lane and kind of tested the waters, and you were strong down there by yourself, weren't you?
Well, we was trying to sort of see what was going on. It was one of them deals where you want to run the high groove, and them cats ain't going to pull over and let you have the fastest way around, so you got to find another way. So, I kept jockeying around and, trying to find some place to go, but wasn't the right place. It was good enough for third.
Well, he's still striving for victory number 196, but 195, that's still the best in the league.
It is. Indeed it is for Richard Petty, 7-time national champion, the 1974 winner of this event. The Waltrip crew just ecstatic. That was the reaction as they came across. Talk about a team. Well, that's what they call the Do Crew, and they were very enthusiastic when they sensed that they had put it all together here at Talladega. Talladega, Alabama, the home of the world's fastest motor speedway. And until 1969, Talladega, Alabama was just a place on the map, and you had to really look in the fine print to find it. It has changed in the past few years, but has Talladega changed? Take a look at this report from Brock Yates.
Just over that hill is the world's largest and fastest motor speedway. And this road, called Speedway Drive, leads to it. It's deep in rural Alabama, in a place called Talladega, which begs two questions. One, what is it, Talladega, Alabama? And two, why would you build a giant racetrack here?
Years ago, who knew where Talladega was? You could call someone and say, yeah, Talladega, okay, we're 50 miles south of Birmingham, or we're 100 miles west of Atlanta. They know where Atlanta was, they knew where Birmingham was, but nobody knew where Talladega was. Back about 14 years ago, I understand Mr. France was looking for a place to put a racetrack. Looking and talking and getting facts and figures together, they were successful in locating it about 12 miles north of Talladega. The racetrack has been here about 14 years now, and I think a lot of our people in the past maybe had a little bit of a negative attitude because they were under the impression that when the track was built here that everybody's going to get rich. All we got to do is just sit back and the money's going to roll in. And it didn't do that. People come 10 miles to your town, within 10 miles of your town, you've got to do something to entice them to come downtown. It's going to be up to our merchants and our business people to make sure they get part of this money as it comes through the town.
While Mayor Barton remains involved with the affairs of the racetrack, it was his immediate predecessor, Dr. J.L. Hardwick, who was a major motivating force in locating the racetrack at Talladega.
Daytona had become successful prior to construction up here in 68 and 69. So with 20 million people to draw from and the southeast building up, with Atlanta and Birmingham and Memphis and Chattanooga and Nashville and Gadsden, Huntsville, Montgomery, Mobile. It's just fantastic what the potential will be in the future.
Racing is becoming a #1 sport in Alabama and in Talladega. But I don't know that it'll ever surpass Alabama and Auburn football.
For most of the year, this is just a desolate stretch of asphalt in the country. But when the green flag drops, for a few hours at least, Talladega, Alabama is on the map.
90,000 people on their feet, screaming, cheering as the field comes out of turn number 4. Down they come, but Waltrip still with a slim advantage. Now, to the outside goes Labonte. At the flyover, Labonte is going for the lead. Bouchard comes up the inside. 3 cars side by side. A year ago, he tasted the runner-up spot. Today, he is the winner. This morning, they found something amiss with their engine, and they went to an engine change on that car that is now in victory lane. There was water in a cylinder. They checked it out, made the engine change, and come home the winner of the 14th annual Talladega 500. He has won $58,770 today. Buddy Baker for second place, $34,350. We'll have more in a moment.
Next weekend on CBS Sports, undefeated heavyweights clash as Tony Tubbs battles Clarence Hill. Jose Luis Clerc is looking for his 3rd consecutive title, the men's and women's finals of the U.S. Clay Court Championships. Former WBA lightweight champion Hilmer Kenty takes on John Montez, and America's dominance is put to the test at the World Swimming Championships. Non-stop excitement next weekend on CBS Sports.
Yes, indeed. Next weekend will be a stellar presentation here on CBS for tennis enthusiasts at 2:30 next Saturday and 2 p.m. next Sunday Eastern Time. CBS Sports will bring you coverage live of the United States Clay Course Tennis Championships. Defending champion Jose Luis Clerc has his work cut out for him. A host of the world's top clay court specialists, including Guillermo Vilas, will be gunning for him. That's next weekend on CBS Sports. The question that begs an answer here is how much longer can Terry Labonte go without winning a Grand National race? How about it, Ned Jarrett?
Well, Ken, in the last 3 races here at Talladega, he has a 3rd and a 2nd, and today a 4th place finish. He's been right in the battle for the lead every time, but it just hasn't materialized, Terry.
No, Ned, Texas Jeans Buick just was a little short on power today, I feel like, and we could run real good when we were up behind some cars, and when we got the white flag, we got stuck down on the bottom when Cale slipped by me on the outside, and just wasn't really nothing we could do.
When you say nothing you can do and he slipped by you on the outside, what does that do for you?
Well, what it did, when going down the back straight of it left me out, out of the draft of the 2 front cars, and Cale was beside me, and then Richard came along on the inside of me and went by me.
And so when you get that many cars bursting open a wide area of wind, it just simply slows you down.
It really does. It felt like it just put the brakes on,
You felt that you had yourself set up that you could really make a run at Waltrip and Baker.
Well, I thought I was until Cale slipped up beside me. I wasn't really watching for him as good as I should have been, I guess.
Terry, you retired?
Oh, a little bit.
Was it very hot out there today? Humidity was pretty high. The temperature wasn't really that bad.
It was pretty hot in the cars, but it wasn't real bad.
Well, one good thing that came out of this was the fact that you will hang on to the championship points. Lead, I should say.
We've been real fortunate. I got to give the crew an awful lot of credit because the cars, finished an awful lot of races and it has really run well all season for us.
Well, it certainly has, Ken, and I think it's just a matter of time that we're going to see this young man from Texas in victory lane.
The gentlest Texan from Corpus Christi. Terry today has increased his point lead over Bobby Allison by a pretty good margin as Allison fell to 10th in the final standings. We'll take a look at those standings in just a moment. Let's get some final comments now from Brock Yates.
Ken, for as long as we've been coming to these races, we keep hearing about new challenges to the old professionals, the young Lions and the Yankees, and all the newcomers that seem to be ready to suddenly to overtake all the old professionals. Now we look at the scoreboard. 4 of the top 5 finishers in this race were over 40 years old. Darrell Waltrip, a real stripling at 35. Between the top 5 finishers, over 2,000 Grand National races. And I wonder really how long the Bobby Allisons and the Richard Pettys, who are both 45, Cale Yarborough, Buddy Baker, and now Waltrip, as he approaches 40, can go on. I sometimes wonder if it's going to be a permanent fixture with these guys. They're so good, so experienced, that in the end, even they were able to turn back youngster like Terry Labonte with that final thrust to the finish line. They're so expert at this kind of super speedway racing, and I wonder if maybe in the future NASCAR is going to have to work out something whereby they can inject their Social Security checks into their prize money, because I've got a feeling they're going to be going for maybe 20 more years.
Thank you, Brock. Let's take a look now at the final standings on today's race. That $58,000 that Waltrip won carries him over the $3 million mark in earnings in Grand National competition. Buddy Baker takes the second place. Petty is third. Cale Yarborough fourth today. Terry Labonte winds up in the 5th position as they cross the stripe. And then back in the 6th spot was the Bill Elliott car, with 7th going to Tim Richmond. 38 lead changes today. We had 10 drivers in the lead lap as they came down for the finish of this event. This was a hard event for these drivers today as you take a look at some of the closing statistics on this event. Yesterday, a driver was lost here, Gene Richards. These drivers had to focus on what they had to do, and they all overcame it magnificently in this event. But for everyone here at the racetrack, for us at CBS, we send our condolences to the family of Gene Richards at Chicago. Darrell Waltrip is victorious today. Great victory for him, the first man to ever win the Talladega 500 twice. We'd like to thank the folks at the Alabama International Motor Speedway, and certainly our producer and director, Bob Stenner and Bob Fishman, for the extremely good job they've done with all of our motor races this year. I'm Ken Squire. Thanks for being with us.
This CBS Sports Special has been sponsored by Mazda and Mazda Quality Products. Budweiser, for all you do, this Bud's for you. And by the complete line of STP Performance Products. The Talladega 500 has been a presentation of CBS Sports.